Hello. Hello from St Catherine's Chapel, which is on the hill high above Abbotsbury. One of the few dry places. And it's got amazing reverberation. Probably get disturbed by somebody else coming in, because I saw a lot of people coming in up here. It's like that thing I posted on my Facebook about a woman who went to the less obvious spaces of visited places and then sort of stayed there for an hour to show how many people come here. And so I suspect it's probably one of those places that seems very quiet but actually isn't. That's interesting. People are leaving little votives and messages to loved ones in the alcoves. Didn't know that. But hello from a rainy Abbotsbury. I seem fated to never actually be able to experience Abbotsbury without some kind of drama, be it transport. I did a plan to come to Abbotsbury on trip 2, which got aborted, if not trip 1. But I was staying mostly the other side of Weymouth in that one. And then, of course, I came here early in the trip and a few days ago, and I had to abort because of the buses getting back. So I thought, I'll stay nearby. And of course, it has to be a complete downpour all day. So, but I have to say, I really recommend that. There are lots of tea rooms and cafes in Abbotsbury. Some closed down, actually. But I recommend the Cherries near the Ties Barn, which I did a drawing of, by sort of a ink brush drawing, which I might post as part of this unless I do something else. I might try and do a drawing in here, because it's one of the few dry places. Or maybe the outside if it stops pissing it down. Trying to get to the chapel is fun because the paths just peter out, and I don't know if you're supposed to just. We'll find out. Ironically, I got to the top and I saw a trackway and a signing, so it might be easier to find the way out on the way down rather than up. But following the suggestion of the southwest coastal path that passes by here, Osmond had paths going up to a bench, and it just stopped, and the path continues but away from the church or chapel, and it's all a bit bizarre. So, I really recommend Cherries, partly because you've got plugs there, so you can charge your devices and stuff, which is the problem with the other one I went to earlier in the day. I've been doing a lot of cafe hiding away from the weather because it's been so bad. It rains and then it stops for a while and it starts chucking it down again, so it's just constant. But the other one is very nice, but doesn't have any sort of plugs you can use. And that's kind of essential on a day like this, because my solar power, yesterday it was like 30 or 40 by the time I sort of left the campsite from the previous night and in the morning. Today it was like 16, 17 because it's just horrible and grey and cloudy, and I was hoping it would sort of get nicer later. It hasn't. I have to head back fairly early anyway because I've got a booking for a meal tonight, which I will look forward to greatly. And yes, so there were remains of the Abbey in Abbotsbury. As you might guess from the name, there's two. Bury is usually a good sign for a tumuli, which is they're up on Abbotsbury Castle, which is basically a hill fort, and the abbot from Abbey. And there was a Benedictine Abbey of St Peter's in Abbotsbury, and the Ties Barn is there, the Dovecote. You can see the bits of the old Abbey in the buildings. It's like hybrid buildings. They've got bits of what obviously was part of the Abbey into new buildings, and then walls and things have taken bits, and bits in the church have been hybridised and or sort of taken. As in the porch of the church, there's a very old sculpture which must date back to those sort of 11th, 12th century times. So there's that sort of age. And the tithe barn is amazing. And they're building an artisan complex there. And I was, as an artist, I was just like giggle, because it's weird talking with this echo. Because they had this thing where, you know, I just immediately was like, yeah, those are the second job artisans, the ones that are, housewives and have already got an income coming in, or kind of do it as a side hustle, or have money already. Because really, you know, artisan craft studios are only usually affordable by people who actually have money. Real artists like me get side-eyed and get complete shade from most of the people around here, because, oh, who's this dirty backpacker? They kind of change their tune when they find out I'm an artist, but still, it's real artists tend to look like me. The ones, unless they are Damien Hirst or whatever, and have, or painting Gucci suits. Was it Armani? As what's his name used to do? Basquiat. You know, but you know, unless you're kind of that sort of like art world wanker, you tend to look kind of scruffy and not rich, because most artists are covered in stains and paint stains and ink stains or whatever, because that's, you know, repairs to your clothes. Because that's what to be an artist is to be poor, usually. But yeah, some people have been nice, but some people you can tell are like in the first cafe, they weren't that friendly. The guy who ran it wasn't that friendly with me, and it was just like, yes. He was speaking to some people from Essex. Can you guess what the man did? Oh, it was a copper. What a surprise! It seems like Essex is full of coppers. Some of them bent. And I don't mean queer. But yes, it is, you know, so he's like, oh, very much my tribe. You're not my tribe. And I get that a lot from people that, you know, it's, you know, you're my difference, my neurodivergence, my neurodifference sense to key me as being other, weird, or sometimes creepy, which is weird, because I try and, you know, a bit like tall people try and seem smaller, and, you know, fat people make jokes of themselves to make others comfortable, or disabled people. You try and mask and filter yourself into that world, and yeah, it's, in a way, it's a fool's game, because no matter how much you do, you will never be accepted. So it's best to just be you and just accept that you're an acquired taste. And that's what I've had to do recently. So yes, if you're coming up to St Catherine's Chapel, it is south of Abbotsbury, and you'll probably go down Chapel Lane and then get very confused. But I think there might be another track up there that's a bit more direct from Church Lane itself, which I must have missed. But yes, come and find this space and play with the echo. And try and work out if I want to draw it. I might draw a bit of it. It'd be nice to do another drawing today, even though I'm chucking it down. I can work in the rain, and I was working in the rain when I was doing the tithe barn sort of ink thing, because that dries fairly quickly, but I don't mind the odd sort of like splat, you know, that's the texture, but it was just like, it got to the point where it was like, no, drizzle is fine, actual deluge is not. I know nothing about this chapel, but it does seem pretty old on the inside, if not slightly modernised on the outside. But it's empty, apart from these alcoves with votive things to people or whatever. I don't know why someone's put a dog bone in here, dog biscuit here. But yes, I probably shouldn't be reading this. But yeah, which in a way kind of makes sense, because a lot of the chapels historically, and these places were for pilgrims to come and make some kind of votive offering, or they were doing a pilgrimage for someone else or themselves to change the situation. So it's weird how people mentioning COVID. It's weird how in modern times people are still doing these things, which would have been kind of what people would have slept tip here for. Because certainly back in the day, the problem wasn't a lack of buses and a bit of rain. It would have been a much bigger hardship to come to somewhere like here. And I say it's on a large... I do wonder about the ancientness of this space, because the hill is a bit like Glastonbury Tor. It's got all those undulations and things around it, and it just says to me, I wouldn't be surprised if this was built on an existing earthwork or something, or existing worship site, as a lot of these sites were. Anyway, I better go, 11 minutes, and see if I can do some work before braving the rain some more. And then heading back for a meal. That will be good. And I have to do that. I've got about 2 hours before the last bus. I mean, if the weather was not shitty, I would probably walk back on the coastal path. Because it seems like the coastal path varies. Some of it's inland. Seems like there's a beach section, but I suspect there's two. But really it's quite far inland, and it intersects at this point with the Ridgeway, which from jump one, that was with Osmington White Horse, that Ridgeway, which is Chumley, and the White Horse chalk drawing on the hillside drawing. And then we came across it again recently on this trip with the Abbotsbury Castle, and it intersects West Bexington. I think you just stop there, so that must be the end of it. But then it goes on to the Chesil Beach stuff. So yeah, there seems to be two of them. One kind of is inlandy and one's Chesil Beachy, but I think they kind of combine in places. So I think it'd be possible, but a day like this, no. I'm just walking up to the chapel, I was like, why am I doing this? But then you get this wonderful echo. So anyway, I'll speak to you soon. Well, that was weird. I was drawing in the chapel, and on my way up I saw three Spanish people. Spanish or Italian, I think Spanish. And then when they arrived, I was like, oh, you finally made it. And they're kind of lurking around outside, and then some other people came along, also Spanish, but they disappeared. These people lurked, and they waited patiently. They set up their camera, and I thought they were just telling us, oh, we can take some pictures. I was like, okay, well, you can take some pictures, it doesn't stop me. But they seem to not want me there, and they seem to sort of, wait, rather annoyed that I was there drawing pictures inside the chapel, just as it was a quiet place, dry place. And I'm having fun trying to get them back without the thing getting drenched, because I didn't have a chance to let them dry because they seemed to be waiting. So I, being a nice person, sort of scuttled outside before my work was dry. Now, the strange thing was the woman was wearing this big robe. You can probably guess where this is going. And I don't know what kind of shoot they're doing. Because I was initially like, oh, is it some kind of porn shoot? What are you doing? And then it was rather obvious because I was having to try and dry my work in the other doorway, because I was like, trying to wait for it to dry and spraying it with hairspray to try and protect it. They then came along and banged on the door because they didn't smell the hairspray. I didn't like, because I wasn't going to spray that inside the church. But before then, I was hearing them making all these demonic whispery noises, and sort of obviously as part of the shoot, it was like being, sort of whispering and sort of spooky whistles and stuff. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? So what it seems to be is a bunch of Satanists doing some kind of video or photo shoot in there. Possibly clothing optional, I don't know. Though she seemed to be clothed, but she had this big black robe on. So they're doing that sort of, yeah. And it's just kind of weird, because when they banged on the door, it annoyed the hell out of me. Because I was like, wrong door. And it was like, they obviously wanted me to go. But it was obviously worked out I was there, even though I wasn't making any noise. I was just trying to dry my work. But what was annoying about that was they're not supposed to be doing what they're doing. So I went back and banged on the door and left. Because, I very much doubt they've got permission from English Heritage to do a demonic, satanic or whatever, some kind of horror shoot or something in St Catherine's Chapel. Because, it's I don't know, it's a sacred site. I mean, it would probably count as a sacred site, even though I'm sure strictly it isn't, because it was attached to the monastery and dissolved. But, I'm sure they wouldn't approve of that there. So that was really weird. And as I say, I was fairly okay with them because they were waiting, and I did a few pieces, and I didn't realise I was getting in their way because they were setting up. They wanted the big window I was drawing, and then I was drawing another piece. Unfortunately, I'm trying to get these pieces down off the moundy thing without getting them wet. So maybe do the classic thing of letting the top of the book get completely wet, and then keeping them apart. But I sort of sprayed them when they were sort of dry. But I wouldn't have had any of that if I was trying to be nice to them. And then it was like, oh, what are you doing? A fucking demonic photo shoot. So yeah, that was weird.